Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh, and very good morning to all of you. Welcome to another event, sub-event in our PicTL 2020, and actually very happy to see now we have close to 100 participants now. I guess all waiting and probably missing to see Datin Aini. Today we're going to have a 2-hour session, inshallah, with Datin Aini to hear about her thoughts about what education to be in the future. With the current scenario of COVID, etc., and with the current situation, we know that education nowadays have to be transformed to something new. Well, I keep saying this in another event, that if we see COVID-19 as an agent of transformation, we can see that nowadays we as educators, we are trying to find many ways to transform the way that we do or the way that we teach, and the way that we make students understand our learning outcomes through many creative methods. Today we are honored to have Professor Datin Aini as the former Vice Chancellor of University Putra, Malaysia, to hear about her thoughts on the innovation for the future in the context of education. Many of us probably know Datin Aini as the former Vice Chancellor of University Putra, Malaysia, but I have the privilege to know her since the day she was at the School of Graduate Studies. So I know how intense and active and involved she was with academics. And after that, she was as the Deputy Vice Chancellor of Academics and International. So I guess this is the right topic for her to share with all of us about what she thought education would be in the future and probably how to handle that. There are many articles nowadays talking about whether university is going to be relevant anymore in the future, whether the scroll that we were getting from the maybe diploma, certificate, diploma, degree, masters and PhD are going to be relevant anymore in the future. And these are all pretty much depends on whether we want to transform ourselves or not. If we keep thinking that we are going to always relevant and we hesitate and reluctant to change, probably in the future we're not going to be relevant anymore. So this is where that things has to be changed, either in terms of the curriculum itself, either in terms of the way we deliver the lecture, either in terms of the way we assess the student. All of them need to be changed. There was a very interesting article I read a couple of days ago that there's a I think it is from United States that saying that probably in the future 300 ringgit or $300 competency certificate will be much valuable as compared to a degree. So this is something for us to think about, and this is something that should become a triggering point for us to ensure that we want to keep moving, and we want to ensure that the whole process of teaching and learning, a formal process of teaching and learning, will still be relevant in the future. So without any further delay, I would like to pass this session to Professor Datin Dr. Aini Idris, our former Vice Chancellor, former Deputy Vice Chancellor for Academics and International, to deliver her thoughts and talk on the innovation for the future. So Datin, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. Iqbal. Good morning, everyone. Let me share the screen first. Okay, Assalamualaikum. Apa khabar semua? Selamat pagi, salam sejahtera. Saya rasa saya doakan semua berada dalam keadaan sihat, sejahtera. Dengar ya apa cakap. Dan dalam berada di rumah masing-masing, sekiranya tak perlu ke pejabat. Alhamdulillah kita dapat bersama pada hari ini dan saya cuba sharekanlah apa yang dipikirkan tentang tajuk yang diberi kepada saya. Saya juga ingin mengucapkan selamat bulan akademia kepada semua akademia, semua pegawai-pegawai akademik, pendidik-pendidik di UPM dan juga di luar UPM. Semua pendidik-pendidik di Malaysia, saya ucapkan selamat bulan akademia. Dan dalam bulan akademia ini, CADe terutamanya telah menyediakan banyak program-program, seminar dan juga workshop, pertandingan-pertandingan poster. Memang sangat banyaklah. Saya mengucapkan setinggi tahniah kepada Prof. Iqbal sebagai peneraju untuk akademik di UPM, Prof. Mutahara, pengarah CADe dan juga staf CADe yang telah bertungkus lumus menyediakan semua program-program pada bulan ini. Juga pegawai-pegawai UPM yang telah terlibat secara langsung ataupun tidak langsung dalam program-program di bulan akademia. Dan siapa-siapa yang ketinggalan sebelum ini, saya harap dapat lihat balik kepada program-program yang disediakan pada CADe. Ada sebab semuanya recorded dan ada dalam website CADe, boleh tengok daripada situ. Dan juga seterusnya yang lebih eloknya kalau kita ikut live lah, sebab kita bila ikut live tu ada perkara-perkara yang tak ada dalam pembentangan tapi disebut semasa pembentangan itu ya. I think that be very good. So congratulations to everyone. Tajuk yang diberi kepada saya, Innovation for Future Education. A very tough topic, a lot of uncertainties in this topic, but let us go through together about this topic and what we think about it. So it's not just my thoughts that I want to share today, but thoughts of other people as well, and thoughts that you all may be thinking at the moment. Maybe those are the things that we can share at the end of the session. So definition for innovation, actually, there are many definitions. If you look through definition of innovation, a lot of things that are being written about innovation and what innovation is all about in context of what they're talking about. So for me, in the context that we're talking today, I just like to say that innovation is the act of process of introducing new ideas, devices, methods, products, or services. And our part is as academic. Besides the new ideas, sometimes we produce in our research, devices, certain methods of products. But the most important part is our service to our clients, especially the students. And those things that add values to your organization or to other relevant parties. And to our, as far as we are concerned about education, the main one would be to our students, because those are our clients. So innovation is the implementation of something that is new. And when you say something that is new, some of those are actually not thoroughly new, because they may be old thing but has been innovated to make it simpler or to make it more efficient or to make it more interesting. When you talk about innovation, so the word innovation is not something new. In the 18th centuries, William Pollard has already mentioned about innovation, and he connect innovation with learning. Learning and innovation go hand in hand, which is very true. And this is what we are talking now, and has been taught since the 18th century, or maybe before that. So why we talk about future education? He also mentioned that the arrogance of success is to think that what you did yesterday will be sufficient for tomorrow. So what he means is that we cannot stop doing new things. You cannot stop innovate, because if you think that what we have done yesterday will be good for tomorrow and stop at that, we are wrong. Okay, we'll be left behind all the time. So this thought has been a long time ago. Educational innovation. when we talk about education, what we are doing is to prepare our students to participate in their world. When we say their world, it's their future world, because we are preparing them now for their future world. And there'll be a lot of problems to handle. We do not know what shapes and what shapes the future and the world, and how do we go about doing it? And for them also to solve problems that may come that we do not know yet. Rapidly evolving world, we are in the world of rapidly evolving world in terms of technology, the type of students that we have, teachers as we are, and a lot of those are uncertainties about the unknown future. So you're talking about the future is always unknown, and we just go through it. Globalization is something that is now very that's been shared. It's very open to everybody now. It's very easy in terms of globalization, networking, collaboration with other people in other countries. Financial limitation, I think it happens everywhere, in the universities, in the world, in the country, and in the world. So those are the things, some of the problems, the issues that we have. What is future education? We talked about innovation just now, but what is future education? What do we know about future education? Or do we really know? I do not know actually. I've been asked to talk about it, but I do not know about future education. So we're just going to go through this so that at the end of the day, at least we know something about future education and what we need to do. Because a lot of those who talk about future education, there are a lot of uncertainties, unknown things, unpredictable, very complex, and also very volatile. Challenges of the current scenario, not only for students, but also for lecturers and for the universities. This is the current scenario. And we do not know yet what is going to be for the future. For now, for example, with the COVID-19, students are learning away from campus. And what do you think about that? How does that affect future education? How does that affect students in their future world? Those are the things that everyone is trying to do to make sure that we are doing something good for the students. Sorry. I also like to thank Prof. Wan Zohanis. Prof. Wan Zohanis last week talked about reimaging and redesigning curriculum. I borrowed this slide from her with her permission, of course. I think some of you may have not attended her talk, and this is a very good way of putting things together. That today's educators are preparing students for jobs that don't yet exist, using technologies not yet invented to solve problems not yet identified. So that's where we are now. We're trying to prepare students for jobs that we do not know yet, using technologies, maybe some of the new technologies that have not been invented, and also trying to solve problems that have not yet been identified. So how do we prepare our students, our talent for the future? I think the most important is that the points below, which is about criteria of talents in the future. What we need to prepare is to prepare students so that they are able to learn, unlearn, relearn, co-learn, and co-create. Learning the new experience that they have now, whatever new things that they get now, that's their learning the things currently, at present, in the current moment. But there are times that they have to unlearn, which means that they have to look into things a different way from what they are learning now, to unlearn those and to make it better and to make it current. And relearn new things. There will be new things coming up which we do not know at this moment, but they should be able to relearn, to co-learn together with the rest of other people, and also to co-create things. Yeah, so if we are able to produce our graduates who are able to do all these things, I think we are in the right direction. Then we look into now not just jobs, but also the roles, from job seekers to job creators. Wiley Education Services in 2019 made comparison between what would happen in the future. They mentioned about a look into the future of higher education in 2025. Not far away, it's only about 5 years ahead, 5 years that we're going into. Looking into the faculty and student. faculty here means teachers, yeah, academics, education, not faculty of veterinary medicine or faculty of medicine. You're talking about ourselves, the academics. And here, when you mention here about there'll be that we have to look into for the future, we have to look into the new teaching model. Team teaching, co-teaching, and teaching only positions will be very common during that time. We have to be technology savvy, that we have to stay abreast and be comfortable with new instructional technologies and changes, which means that we have to keep on learning. We have to learn every day is a learning process, looking at new things, and we cannot just sit still. We have to learn to do and to read and to doing it and implementing it. That will make us more efficient of how to do things and more efficient in terms of grading. How do we grade students, because students will be different in the future. That the way that we teach will be different, and very important is on the multidisciplinary approach. For the student, the aspect that the students will demand for engaging experiences, expectation that learning will be entertaining, immersive, purpose-driven, and experiential. Prof. Karim in his talk last week talked about immersion, immersive learning, experiential learning. So those are the things that even the current students are looking at. They want something that is interesting, entertaining, and especially now, in the when they are away, they are learning alone. Yeah, they are learning alone, in isolation in their home. It has to be something entertaining that they want to join the classes. Tangible results, increase focus on concrete skills that enable them to graduate with a job and facilitate career mobility. Also, a consumer mindset that will be the students on the student side, demanding convenience, personalization, and also professional skills. Challenges in the classroom, they'll continue to need help with writing, critical thinking, and professional skills. Not only during this time that they are away from campus, they are not on campus, but also when we have better can go back into face-to-face teaching, they still need help in terms of all this. And how do we make that happen? And how do we assist the students? You all know about the 10 shift under the Malaysian Education Blueprint. What are the 10 shifts that are needed to transform the system? We have this 10 shift that's been prepared and it's current and relevant, though it's been prepared a few years ago, but it's still current and relevant. If you look at all the shifts, okay, all those are associated with education, globalized online learning, and this pairs very well with what is happening now, the online learning, global prominence, transform higher education delivery. How do we deliver the education? Innovation ecosystem, number 7, yeah, innovation ecosystem. This is very important. And we want to produce talent, excellent talent, nation of lifelong learners, quality TVET graduates, and also the financial sustainability. And of course, the most important one is to produce a future graduates, future-proof graduates who are holistic, entrepreneurial, and balanced. And it's all in the 10 shifts. So if you study the 10 shifts, if you read the blueprint, education blueprint, you'll understand what all this means. And also we talk about shared prosperity vision. So the framework of shared prosperity vision include the objective, the guiding principle, the strategic trust, and the enablers. And all these are also associated when we talk about association with academic. Human capital is the one. Okay, the strategic trust of human capital is the important component that we at higher education institution must play a role. There are 8 enablers in the shared prosperity education, shared prosperity vision, and one of the 8 enablers that is very clear. Okay, the others are also related indirectly, but the one that is very clear is on education and TVET. That is to increase in skill and highly educated workforce, learning society, and outcome-based education. Outcome-based education. We have been talking about outcome-based education, and Prof. Iqbal is very the key person that can teach us about outcome-based education. I think one of the talk later on, Prof. Mutahara, is to ask Prof. Iqbal to talk about outcome-based education and how this relate to what we are doing now. Everyone knows about SDG, and SDG 4 is quality education. So education is a very important part of SDG, Sustainable Development Goals. And SDG 4 is to ensure that we have inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. So as we go through, you realize that lifelong learning is very important. Why lifelong learning? Because you're always talking about the future. What we learn today may not be relevant tomorrow or the next day or the next year, and so on. So we are always learning from now and until we stop. I mean, I think we stop learning when we die. So it's always lifelong learning, and we have to promote that lifelong learning, because if you stop learning while you're still living, I think you are dying silently. Very important aspect of education is, of course, the curriculum. So we have to look into future-ready curriculum and how it is being affected. And again, for lifelong future-ready curriculum, lifelong learning is again the very important part. Design thinking, holistic, entrepreneurial, and balance. This is very important. And the components of that in terms of transformative teaching and learning delivery, holistic assessment is the immersive experiential learning, futuristic learning spaces. We're talking about future learning spaces that most of the universities have created now. Holistic assessment in terms of challenge-based, integrated, personalized, authentic profiling, and the other aspect of the curriculum. Very important, convergence of a multi of disciplines, flexible and non-conventional, global education, and also industry partnership are the very important component that we should consider when we talk about the future curriculum. And the future-ready curriculum must focus on literacies towards making interdisciplinary connections, essential and probability skills. This is right. This is from the beginning. We always talk about the skills, soft skill and probability skills, problem solving, critical thinking, project management, creativity. All those are very important aspects. And of course, the global citizenship values. This is also very important. We are talking about education now, not just in our country, not just in our university, but it is also worldwide, and we are very interconnected. And the two values, the most important values here are the empathy and also character. So character building is very important. Future-proof skill sets. These are the things that when we look into the future-proof skill sets, creativity and innovation. Without doubt, we have to innovate all the time. Holistic, entrepreneurial, and balance, resilience, leadership, compassion, values, and ethics. I think values and ethics, sometimes people forget about values and ethics. This is a very important aspect as well. And to be able to survive in the future, we have to be flexibility is very important. To be flexible and to be able to adapt to new things easily, understand what is what, how to do it, and be able to adapt it quickly. Critical thinking and problem solving, and of course communication. Future-ready tech leaders, learning anywhere, anyhow, anytime. This is what is happening now. Students can learn anywhere, anyhow, and anytime. And how do we make that happen? A lot of those has to do with technology. A rich digital learning environment, curriculum instruction and assessment, develop the opportunity to grow. Sustainable digital learning environment, which needs funding, needs money. So the organization has to allocate budget and resources for this to make sure that the technology can be available, can be made available for the students and for the staff. Ensure safety, security, and privacy, especially when you talk about data, because when everything is online, there are things that we need to safeguard and to envision the future. So the current situation has pushed us to scale up remote work We are now working remotely. Every one of us, I think, how many are here in the conference now? You're all at home in your own place. Some may be having the children around, but many of us are working in a remote way on our own. Similarly with the students, they are in their own remote place in isolation. So we have to think of this. So we have to scale up in terms of our remote work, how to enhance that, accelerate digitalization, accelerate automation, and many others, as mentioned by Rashiba and Hegel in 2020. So all this will need us to do reskilling that leads us into reskilling revolution. Reskilling revolution, which means that we have to reskill many things. It's a kind of revolution. Reimagine and redesign online learning experience, which is we have to do all the time and we have to learn. And Prof. Wan Zohanis talked about reimagine and redesign online learning experience last week. You may go back to her talk last week and learn more about it. Among the major innovation in the last few years, probably the last 10 years or so, these are among the major innovation in educations: digital textbooks, gamifications, remote learning, artificial intelligence, virtual reality, learning through smart board, cloud-based technology education, MOOCs. We were the first one to start MOOCs in Malaysia. Use of videos and also learning and many other things. Yeah? These are among the important ones or the major ones. So we talk about today and future. VUCA, volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. This is today and also the future. Okay, even today, a lot of things are volatile, very uncertain, and complex, also ambiguous. Similarly, we expect to be in the future, or maybe more in the future. So things are easily changing, very undefinite, undecided. It is not a single aspect, or all are connected, and some of them are vague. So for us as academics, as educators, how can we prepare students for jobs that have not yet been created? To tackle societal challenges that we can't yet imagine, and to use technologies not yet invented to solve problems not yet identified. Very challenging, yeah, very challenging indeed. How can we equip them to thrive in an interconnected world where they need to understand and appreciate different perspectives and worldviews, interact respectfully with others, and take responsible action towards sustainable and collective well-being? When we talk about this, we said that we want to prepare the student. Are we ourselves prepared? I think that's the first question that we must ask. Are we ourselves prepared? If we are not prepared, how can we prepare the students for all this that we have mentioned earlier? How can we prepare them if we ourselves have not prepared? So we must be prepared ourselves. We have to learn, we have to be IT savvy, and we have to learn many things so that we're able to prepare them. It's not an easy thing, but we have to think about it. How do we do it? I find that this Organization for Academic Cooperation and Development, or OECD, if you go into their website, they have a lot of things that they talk about future of education. They talk about education. It's a very interesting website that I urge that all of us, if you have time, go through and see the website. And they also produce many videos related to future education. And one of the projects that under this OECD is to look into future education and skills 2030. The phase one of the project focuses on curriculum redesign and developing a conceptual framework for learning 2030. So the first phase is to redesign and prepare the framework. Okay, that's the first phase of the project. The second phase of the project focuses on curriculum implementation. First one is to redesign. Second one is to implement and creating a conceptual framework for teaching. First one for learning and second is for teaching. So I urge you that you go and read this because there are a lot of interesting points in what is written about Future Education and Skills 2030 project. The director, Andres Slasher, I don't know maybe how I pronounce it, but he's the director for education and skills under OECD. He mentioned that education is no longer about teaching students something alone. It is more important to be teaching them to develop a reliable compass and the navigation tools to find their own way. The word is compass and navigation tools. So we should be teaching the student so that later on they can find their own way in the way that, as mentioned earlier, in the future world that we do not know is going to happen. But with the education that we provide now, they should be able to develop, find their own way, their own navigation tools, so that they can be in the world that is increasingly complex, volatile, and uncertain. Our imagination, awareness, knowledge, skills, and most important, our common values, intellectual and moral maturity, and sense of responsibility are what that will guide us for the world to become a better place. I think this is very good words that's written by Andres. I'll just go through this video, a short, very short video. I hope it works very well. Okay, we'll listen to this for a while.
Our world is constantly changing. As our politics, technology, and societal aspirations evolve, we find ourselves shifting towards ever more open and purpose-driven societies, ones that must confront ethical challenges brought about by new technologies and global climate change. What does the 21st century look like? Let's explore the patterns of past and present to understand our vision for the future. The 19th century was an age of civil wars, colonialism, and imperialism. This was followed by 2 world wars in the 20th century and the restoration of independence for many countries. So far, the 21st century has been characterized by interdependence among nations and a decentralization of power to individuals. In the 19th century, mass production became possible through new inventions and the exploitation of labor. The world's economies and cultures became increasingly connected, which led to globalization becoming a hallmark of the 20th century. Late last century, the internet and new jobs in computers, electronics, and finance spurred the automation of manual tasks and increased access to information. We are now in an age of accelerated technological innovation, global digital communication, a shared economy, and mass migration with increasing levels of urbanization. Working life has also changed, with the workforce taking on shared decision-making responsibilities in flat and open organizations. Increased social and environmental awareness is shifting business aims from purely profit-driven to purpose-driven. Our relationship with the environment was one of exploitation in the 19th and 20th centuries, tempered by an emerging awareness of the environment and concern over climate change in the latter half of the 20th century. A paradigm shift is now occurring in the 21st century, where the well-being of humanity is recognized as dependent on the well-being of the planet. Education has been affected by all of these changes. When universal public schooling emerged in the 19th century, a static, standardized curriculum prepared students for jobs. In the 20th century, the purpose of education expanded to include individual fulfillment, and new disciplines were added. Now, and looking forward, education systems aspire to implement flexible, dynamic curricula that recognize the differences between individual students and provide the tools for all students to realize their full potential in an uncertain future. Schools are no longer closed off from their surroundings, but are hubs of collaboration, continually contributing to and being influenced by their wider ecosystem. What might the future of education look like? Visit our website to catch a glimpse.
Sorry, how do we do this?
Hi, I'm Dr. Amy Killen. I have my own Exit full screen dulu, Datin.
Okay,
Okay.
sekejap ya.
Okay.
Sorry baru belajar ni semua ni. Okay. Lepas tu apa saya buat dah sekarang.
Cursor ke bawah kan, ada untuk next.
Okay. Okay. So ada tadi.
Tak perlu pangkah tu Datin, ke minimize. Minimizekan screen.
Okay. Sekejap,
Okay.
Okay. Jumpa dah. Okay. Sorry, baru nak belajar guna video dengan PowerPoint ni. So, our challenge today is to bring the divides highlighted and amplified by the crisis. And as we know, the divides keep on, the gaps between the divides they keep on increasing. So that's why it is a big challenge for us to bridge these divides, and especially as years go on, it's being amplified by many crises, not just one crisis, but many crises. From the video just now, you learned that what is happening from the 19th century, 20th century, and 21st century. A lot of things have changed. We have to change with time. We have to do things. There are new things. I think that video gave a good summary of what is happening. And you should go back and have a look at this video. It is available on YouTube from the website of OECD. This slide and then another two slide actually very full. I just want to put here to share with you the thing. I'm not going to talk about all those, but because these slides will be given to all of you. You can refer to CADe website later on and to learn new things and many things about future education and skills 2020. Again, if you go to OECD website, you find all those information. And for us here is talking about traditional education system and also an education system embodying the new normal. In the traditional education system, decisions, education system are more of independent entity and decision made based on a selected group of people, and thus they become accountable and responsible for the decisions that's being made. And the vision of labor also is be there. The principal, for example, if you're talking about school, teachers teach, students listen to teachers and learn. But in the new normal, it is a shared responsibility. Everyone works together and assumes responsibility for students' education, and students also learn to be responsible for their own learning. The very important thing that I want to emphasize here is that the student must be responsible for their own learning. They have to be responsible for their own learning because especially with the current situation, how we teach them, how we impart knowledge into them, they are the one that must be responsible. Example, in the current situation where they are learning on their own at home, they may just switch on the laptop or PC and put it on mute and also no video and go and do something else. We do not know. Okay, we do not really know whether the student is learning or they are not learning. So they have to be responsible for their own learning. If they want to learn, they want knowledge, they have to be responsible. Approach to curriculum design and learning progression, also very important. In any education system, curriculum design and learning progression is very important. And in the new normal, it is no longer linear and standardized progression, but it is a non-linear progression where recognizing each student has his or her own learning path and is equipped with different prior knowledge, skills and attitudes when he or she starts schools. Okay, student assessment, how we assess the student, different types of assessment are now being used for different purpose, and role of student, not only just learning by listening, but also participate actively with both a student and also co-student and also with a teacher and other things. And this will be summarized in the next video that I'm going to show you. Again, here, what is written in this table is comparison of society, industry and education across the 19th and 20th centuries. and the aspirational vision for the 21st century. If you can see here, the technological innovation, the main industry and types of climates, where those are, you see the changes, the technological innovation, for example, in the 19th century, it was about electricity and telephone. In the 20th century was internet, and vision for the 21st century would be cyber physical technology. Now we have social media, AI, 3D printing, robotics, and etc. So this, you can again look into it, changes in the society lifestyles, work organization in education, and changes in compulsory schooling. Now with the emergence of divergence of schooling, there are many types of school now, private and also homeschooling is also becoming more and more. Before, when we talk about homeschooling, we've been hearing about homeschooling in developed countries, but now even in Malaysia, we have students, they are homeschooled. They're not being sent to school. I don't know why, but there are some parents for doing that. With the vision for the 21st century, emerging of networks, partnership in school, collaborations, collaboration between school communities at all levels, and others, they are associated with that. And curriculum, we prepare the curriculum for interdependence, education for citizenship, balanced scope in breadth and depth, and also non-linear, dynamic, flexible curricula, and focus on more personalized learning. Okay, another short video talking about the new normal.
As our societies evolve, so do our education systems. But what does the future of education look like? To answer this question and understand how traditional models are evolving, we looked at emerging features that may become the new normal in education systems around the world. What did we see? Traditionally, in education systems, decisions are made by a select group of people, and everyone has a distinct role. Students learn by listening to their teachers, teachers teach, and principals manage the schools. The curriculum is linear and standardized. Academic performance is prioritized, and students are assessed through standardized tests. How is this changing? Education systems embodying the new normal are part of a larger ecosystem where decision-making and responsibilities are shared among a wide group of stakeholders, and students are active participants in their own learning. In these schools, the learning process and student well-being are also valued in addition to academic performance. There is a recognition that students come from different backgrounds and learn in different ways. Learning happens in a non-linear process with different types of assessments used for different purposes. These schools are monitored no longer just to ensure accountability, but also to encourage frequent feedback at all levels to continually improve the education system. The future, by definition, is unpredictable, but by developing responsive education systems, we can help our children adapt to, thrive in, and even shape whatever the future holds. To find out how you can help too, visit our website.
Okay, okay, lepas ni buat apa tadi ya?
Minimize the thing.
Ya?
Minimize.
Okay. Alright, so just now, if you remember from the video, it talk about the last two slides. Okay, summarize the last two slides about how things are changing and how that we should teach our students or our children that they can be, so that they can be adaptable for the future, for the things that are changing. There are the things that we should be doing and how we should be doing things. future, again, is state there is very uncertain. So being very uncertain, we have to do many things. We have to let risk, but as the most important part, as I said, is very important for us to do is to make sure that they're able to learn, unlearn, relearn, co-learn, and co-create. Okay, very important as what have been mentioned earlier. I think this is a very important aspect for them to be able to learn, unlearn, relearn, co-learn, and co-create. And not to forget ourselves too. Yeah, we always talk about how do we do it for the student. How can we do it? But if we ourselves don't know how to do it, how can we teach the student? So the two far-reaching questions that we should consider is what knowledge, skills, attitudes, and values will today's students need to shape and thrive in their world in the future? How can instructional systems develop this knowledge, skills, attitudes, and values effectively? Well, I do not know all these answers to all this, but we should together think about it and how we want to do it so that we'll be able to at least guide our students and our future talents to be able to survive and to be able to excel in the future world. Unesco has also several initiatives about futures of education. And under UNESCO's Futures of Education initiative, it aims to rethink education and shape the future. The initiative is catalyzing a global debate on how knowledge, education, and learning need to be reimagined in a world of increasing complexity, uncertainty, and precarity. So if you see, if you look, if you see as we go along, that the words complexity, uncertainty is always there when you talk about future. So for UNESCO, too, you go to the website of UNESCO, there are a lot of things that talk about the initiative, initiative for futures of education. So it's a global initiative to reimagine how knowledge and learning can shape the future of humanity and planet. So again, I would encourage that you go look through this website. So when you talk about future of education, to be ready and competent for 2030, students need to be able to use their knowledge, skills, attitude, and values to act in coherent and responsible ways that change the future for the better. Skills are of course prerequisite. Competency is a holistic concept that includes knowledge, skills, attitudes, and values. And competency implies more than just the acquisition of knowledge and skills. It involves the mobilization of knowledge, skills, attitudes, and values to meet complex demands in situations of uncertainty. So in short, competency is not exactly equal, but when we talk about competency, we're talking about mobilization of knowledge, skills, attitudes, and values. Knowledge, skills, attitude, and values. This all should be encompassed in our education. There are 3 literacies that are included: the humanic curriculum, that is technological, data, and human literacy. And human literacy is the most important literacy among the 3 because it prepares us for the social milieu, facilitates engagement with others, and enhances human capacity for love and grace. And also in the global community, we need to interact with people who have different backgrounds and perspectives. Therefore, embracing diversity at school and workplace. Diversity, a very important word that we must remember. Okay? Diversity, we must always embrace diversity in wherever that we are, especially in our universities and our workplace. Individual well-being, under OECD framework for measuring well-being and process. These are the things that OECD framework has put up about quality of life and material conditions. Okay, quality of life, of course, health status is very important. Work-life balance, education and skills, social connection, civic engagement, environmental quality, personal security, subjective well-being, and the better part being income and wealth, jobs and earnings, and also housing. So for all this, sustainability of well-being over time is very important. So I'd like to stress that you go to the OECD framework to know more in detail about what is being mentioned here. A new vision for lifelong learning and world worth living. Again, under UNESCO, under the Sustainable Development Goal 4, SDG 4, this is very important when we talk about embracing a culture of lifelong learning. Lifelong learning actually is everywhere because you're talking about what is going to happen in the future. Recognize the holistic character of lifelong learning. Promote transdisciplinary research and intersectoral collaboration of lifelong learning. Establish lifelong learning as a common good. You can read the rest, but the most important, very important is to recognize and promote the collective dimension of learning, encourage and support lifelong learning initiative, including learning cities, and re-engineer and revitalize workplace learning. Re-engineer and revitalize workplace learning. We have to think deeply about this. Okay, we have to think deeply. We have to think how we are going to do it, and it is the job of every one of us to look into it and to do into it. And I hope that during this time, the CMCO time, you probably have a little bit more time than the time that when you have to go to office to work, because you have reduced the time of traveling, reduced the time of several things. I hope that you can spend that time looking through the SDG goal and looking through and thinking about what we can do and how we want to do for the lifelong learning for the future education. The fourth industrial revolution, everyone talks about fourth industrial revolution. And under the during the Economic World Forum also, under the paper Realizing Human Potential, in the fourth industrial revolution, I just want to highlight there, I want to highlight in this one that it is written about future-ready curricula. Future-ready curricula is what we mentioned earlier. So I hope that you also, all of you, would have time to go through and read this paper. Very important, talking about early exposure to workplace, career guidance, digital fluency. Again, technology that is rapidly evolving. We have to be digital savvy. We have to know about the digital aspect. I want to mention one thing here. One of the head department told me recently that he was surprised when there was an assignment that he asked one of the staff to do, academic staff. He mentioned that he's not able to do it at home because he does not have PC or laptop at home. Right. I was shocked to hear that. You know, we okay before MCO and all that. He was just saying he depend everything things in the office, but now I really don't know how he managed the time during the MCO when we have during that time some of the students are still in the final semester or the second semester, and now the new semester is coming, and yet he can say that he does not have laptop or PC at home. That's one of the things that we have to invest in education. We have to invest in that. And as far as CPM is concerned, I know that we have loan for computer for everyone, not just for academic, that any staff of UPM can get the loan from UPM to buy a PC, and it can easily buy PC. And I think all of us should invest in that. I'm sure all of you that here you already have that, but for maybe only isolated cases, one or two of these cases they do not have. I told the head department to probably talk to Prof. Iqbal and probably talk to the person and Prof. Iqbal how we can assist, we can assist this person, because he needs to assist himself for him to be able to assist the students. Advancements in education, advancing cultures of innovation, very important, cultures of innovation. All of us have to innovate. We have to think every day for your own course, for your own program. How can you innovate things? How can you make it interesting? How can you make it more efficient? Redesigning things, rethinking the educators, learning spaces, many faculties I know in UPM at least that have already provided learning spaces and other for at the faculty and also at some other places. So these are very important. Infrastructure, UPM has all this, yeah. Infrastructure that we provide, infrastructure, we have educators, students, many things that we do for the educators, for the students, administrators, and also the infrastructure. So they are all ready. We need to enhance from time to time or improve from time to time. Thanks to CADe, thanks to Prof. Iqbal and CADe for having all this initiative, prepared initiative, have the initiative. I know Prof. Iqbal and the team work very hard to come up with the academic transformation plan, and CADe produced it in a book. CADe has also produced Putra Flex or UPM Flexible Curriculum, Pride, UPM InnoCreative Delivery, Praise, Putra Alternative Assessment, and they're in the process of documenting some other things as well. If you do not have the copy of the book, Prof. Mutahara, I think they can get from CADe website. I think, yeah. I think you can get from CADe website and all this. And you should read these books so that you understand better of what is happening. The philosophy for academic transformation is an effort towards developing future-proof Putra graduates. Please remember the word future-proof graduates, because this will be on and on. When you talk about future education, innovation and future education, you're talking about getting the students ready for future. So we have to develop future-proof Putra graduates. How do we do it? Through a flexible curriculum that is organic and fluid in nature, supported by innovative teaching and learning delivery to generate impactful learning experiences and alternative assessment to cater diverse learning abilities. And the Putra for flexible curriculum, Dr. Zariat last week or the week before talked about Putra Flex. Okay, Putra Flex is an effort to produce future-proof Putra graduates through the development of flexible curriculum, which is organic and fluid in nature. As mentioned earlier, that is which allow for disciplines, convergence, and diverse study path. Disciplines, convergence, and diverse study path. And also, the innovative creative teaching and learning delivery is a continuous effort towards producing future-proof graduates through impactful learning experiences designed to meet an expected learning outcome and personalized to the learner needs. Okay, this is very important that all of us in UPM at least should know about, and you should understand what Putra Flex is about and how we do about the flexible curriculum that is organic and also free. A lot of assessment, a variety of assessment also challenge the learners to understand themselves. And again, all these need innovation in how you use the instructional methods to provide opportunities to assess learners with diverse learning holistic abilities in a holistic manner, which ultimately leads to future-proof graduates. So that's just a bit about Putra Flex. I know Dr. Zariat mentioned this last week or the week before. Maybe some of you have missed it. So Putra Flex is a brand name of the flexible curriculum formulated and structured for UPM. And it is, the word is, whereas flex is a very important word, flexible for flexible. And Putra Flex is structured with an underpinning philosophy of producing future-proof Putra graduates through a curriculum that is flexible in nature, promotes the convergence of disciplines, and offers diverse study path. Accordingly, Putra Flex contains the concepts and guidelines for its implementation at UPM. So, in short, flexible curriculum. Conceptually, a flexible curriculum is described a curriculum that emphasizes two key characteristics I mentioned earlier, which are fluid and organic. Some people ask what do you mean by organic and fluid? Yeah? The word fluid refers to the nature of the substance that is continuously flowing, liquid or unsolidified. And we understand that that's what the fluid means. And as far as the curriculum is concerned, a fluid curriculum is therefore not fixed or rigid and easily adapts and adjusts in response to circumstances. The word organic again refers to a natural characteristic, one that is not synthetic or artificial. An organic curriculum, therefore, is one which encourages learning to grow in its natural state, whereby students are allowed to grow as learners by exploring knowledge, skills of their own choice. Again, Dr. Zaria put this, mentioned about this flexible study path for future education, where there will be major with specialization, major minor, double degree, double all the second program, core and elective program, double major, and so on. Okay, all these have been mentioned very clearly. We are doing it, some of those, and many of those, or many universities are doing this as well. Because that is to allow flexible study path for future education. Attributes of Putra InnoCreative, again, you can go through all this. It is in the book that is prepared by CADe. What is important is in terms of competence. I mentioned earlier about competency, why it is important about competency. We have a subject matter expert should be the basic of teaching to ensure accurate content delivery. So it has to be very competent, committed, and compassionate. This compassionate is to ensure that learners have the soul to go beyond acquiring the expected learning outcome. And Educator is aspired to design the teaching strategies according to the learning needs. We have to keep on reading, learning, and doing things. Perceptive transformation involve about scholarly educators, engaging educators, content experts, learning designers, compassionate educators, Putra InnoCreative educators. Okay, we have to transform. That's be in terms of our as educators, we have to do the transformation. We have to teach students for lifelong learning. I can't express enough the importance of lifelong learning, not just for finishing the syllabus, and create a learning experience that let the students to relate to their life and work beyond the classroom. The learning experience is very important. Making the learning fun, because this will ensure the students to remember something about what they have learned. I actually read a lot about this, and especially about creating a learning experience. Now that I have time to do it, and it is really very interesting. So if you have time, again, do read about how and what you want to do to create a good learning experience for the student beyond the classroom. Beyond the classroom. Scholarly educator, again, a scholarly educator makes a significant contribution to pedagogical knowledge by engaging with a scholarly approach to their teaching practice and contributing to the scholarly research literature. Successful candidates would influence educational practice as well as educational knowledge. So scholarly educators are grounded in a student-centered perspective and share their findings with institutional colleagues, promoting communities of practice around their educational research. And this is what we want all educators to be scholarly educator. If you're not there yet, we have to learn and to do it, but our target should be that we should be in the group of scholarly educators. For the initiative 1 to 5, this initiative here that that's mentioned here actually can be performed through Putra MOOC. MOOC is a Putra, all of us know, Putra massive online course. Putra MOOC, massive online course. This the one that is being prepared for MOOC. UPM actually is the first university to produce. Maybe some others have produced, but the one that we launched MOOC was that time Prof. Aida was the director for CADe. So we have many of these blended learning substitute, Putra collaborative online learning, Putra Online Visiting Scholar, Credit Transfer MOOC, and so on. Maybe some of you are not aware about this. I know during the months of MCO from March and until now, CADe has been organizing various workshops, classes, seminars in line with this. And only then I realized that actually in UPM we have many experts in education, many experts in technology that we do not know. And this time we are sort of forced to stay at home. We are learning new things, and especially me, I'm learning a lot of new things about education, about the technology. Putra MOOC progression, the 4 phases there. The second phase, I think was 2016, the year is missing there. The first phase was exploration. Okay? Putra MOOC was introduced as an initiative for global online learning. At that time, we're talking about online learning. We were in the SIACA consortium, Southeast Asian Agriculture Universities Consortium. We wanted to produce also courses that can be shared with all the consortium universities and some other courses that we can share with the rest. So MOOC was introduced during that time. Second phase was for reinforcement. 16 MOOC courses, Putra MOOC courses have been active between year 2014 until 2018, and each faculty that time was requested to develop at least 2 Putra MOOC courses. That also was the initiative by the Ministry of Higher Education. 2019 is come to the empowerment part where Putra MOOC platform is launched. So we are no longer using other external platform, but now using our own platform, Putra MOOC. I'm sure all of you have gone through that. And Putra MOOC course quality assurance implemented here. And from now on, 2020 onwards, is the acceleration phase where 24 Putra MOOC courses are ready to be offered. And then this focuses on outreaching to inclusive learners. Remember, we're talking about SDG Goal 4, we talk about inclusive learners. So our MOOC also focus on outreaching to inclusive learners and also to have credit transfers. Putra MOOC also offers strategy, target participant, but that support what we are doing, University for Society, strengthening the impact of global expertise and knowledge, innovation in attracting new students and various aspects. I'm not going through all this in detail. Students, the target is that for students to, and students who are enrolled in any academic program, we also target the communities, industry, and the public. For the Putra MOOC also being used to develop educators' competency. Okay, earlier on we were developing it for students, but now also there are MOOC that's developed for educators' competency for ECPD, for UPM teaching, foundation course, and these are open to UPM and others. I know a lot of program, CPD program has been ongoing, and again I urge that you take time to attend some of this program that are useful to you or maybe relevant to what you are doing. Many activities under CADe, as I mentioned earlier. Just want to highlight that CADe has come up with many activities at the university level and also at the faculty level. Service Learning Malaysia is one of the activities that has been, somebody talked about this earlier, I'm not sure whether Dr. Zaid or Prof. Karim from USM talk about Sulam. But Sulam is one of the things, so if you're not familiar with Sulam, please go through that. Things are available under CADe and underline. Also, CADe has organized various events to recognize innovation in teaching and learning. We put high emphasis on teaching and learning. People talk about research all the time, that we recognize research, research innovation, research products, research documents that we have. But just to inform that at UPM, we also recognize innovation in teaching and learning. So many things that CADe has done, competition to make sure that people become more aware, become more creative, and to show their creativity and at the international level, also intra Putra Integrative Carnival in teaching and learning has been recognized and organized, and a lot of the experiences and other things are recognized and also encouraged for our people to start doing it, and for our academics and for our students as well. Again, a bit of advertisement. Continuing education professional development for academics 2020. These are the things that have been ongoing before and will continue to go on. In October is the Bulan Academia, where we are now, and many things also have been done during organized during Bulan Academia, and so on and so on. So please keep on looking into the activities that is run by CADe. Continual Professional Development Program addresses the need for lifelong and continuous learning, and the primary objective of CPD for the academic community is to maintain and enhance existing technical and professional skills in order to better meet changing responsibilities and expectations. Putra InnoCreative Educator, talking about the academic governance, ethics and professionalism, curriculum design and management, innovative delivery and assessment, educational research, and also supervision, mentoring and extension. And this under the OECD Learning Compass of 2030 also distinguishes between 3 different types of skills: cognitive and metacognitive skills, which include critical thinking, creative thinking, learning to learn and self-regulation, social and emotional skills, which include empathy, self-efficacy, responsibility and collaboration, and practical and physical skills, which include using information and communication technology devices. The characteristics of effective learning space, these are some of the characteristics. Okay, many you can still innovate and create other things, but at least the learning space should be able to should be adjustable to meet the learning activities and allow for movement, allow for various groupings, allow for hands-on exploring, making and building, allow for curriculum integration including the arts, support social interaction and development, support cognitive skill and development, support the integration of technology, and provide various opportunities for students to learn through example. This is available in, I think, in under CADe as well as at the faculty. Okay, various, I think a few faculties have already started to provide learning space. If you have not seen one, you should be able to go and visit these places and see how things are being done, how learning space are being created, and what else can be done. You can improve and enhance from what are already available. Teachers have 3 loves. Okay, love of learning, learning of learners, and the love of bringing the first 2 loves together. So we're ahead in order to execute the academic transformation. InnoCreative delivery transformation needs to happen at individual level. Okay, we mentioned about perceptor and pride just now. Again, the detail, I'm not sure. I'm sure CADe has already done the seminar on perceptor and pride, and what are the effects on that, course and the program levels. And the way ahead for InnoCreative delivery requires support and collaboration by all the stakeholders, so that the aspiration towards producing future-proof Putra graduates can be a reality. So it has to be engaging, it has to be involved about globally online learning, global exchange, micro-credential, transdisciplinary, diversity, immersive learning object. Immersive learning, innovative learning, blended learning. I think we all know about this already. We have had several seminars on this. So let us think together, how does our teaching and learning, research, publication and services address the Sustainable Development Goals, Industry 4.0, SDG 4, SDG number 4, and COVID-19 pandemic is happening now, and why does it affect, and how and why does it affect. Okay, we are all now living in the physical, digital and biological world. Things change every day. Things change every day. There are a lot of development every day that we have to adapt quickly. We have to adopt and adapt quickly. We have to adjust quickly, sometimes in a daily basis. So we expect things, different things to happen tomorrow, but different things happen. And we can see this especially in the current situation of pandemic COVID-19. Things are changing every day. Okay, instructions are changed every day according to what is happening on that particular day and the next day and beyond. So we have to evaluate ourselves, reinvent ourselves, reinvent our course. I'm saying this to myself as well, okay, not just to all of you, but also to remind myself about what needs to be done. We have to leverage design thinking in our teaching. For AAN, actually, for those, AAN is Anugerah Akademik Negara, there is a component for the teaching side. And we noticed that during the interview, when we interview the winners, the candidates for the AAN, for Anugerah Akademik Negara for teaching, many of them actually they apply design thinking in their teaching and also practice it in other role as an educator. And they were able to provide proof of how they do it. And that actually the one that attract the judges to feel that they are doing good thing in terms of teaching. It has to be empathized, defined, ideate, brainstorm, and come up with creative solutions, and build up a representation of one or more of your ideas to show to the others. You come up with a prototype and implement it and do it and see how it works out. InnoCreative delivery framework, again, this involves holistic, humanizing, executing, planning. It involves scholarly educator, compassionate educator, engaging educator, learning facilitator, learning designer. So think about ourselves. Are we a scholarly educator? Are we compassionate enough? Are we engaging enough? And do we facilitate learning of our students? And do we design new things? Okay, a lot of things that has been mentioned earlier also about case study, modular way of doing it, gamification learning, flipped classroom, immersive learning, cooperative learning. These are the things that we have to reflect to ourselves. I think reflection on ourselves is very important as educator, so that we can guide our students for future education, for what's going to happen in the future. From instructional design to learning experience design. Okay. For example, discover, define, curate, develop and refine the solution through testing and feedback, facilitate the course and gain insight from students. We learn from it and we evolve from it. Literation is necessary part of the course development process. We need to learn how to do this together. 11 pillars of technological advancement that are important in our aspect, and many of those aspects are related to education, to what we are doing. Okay, we must incorporate IR 4.0 in our teaching, research and services. But are we knowledgeable enough? Okay, we may be knowledgeable in certain things, but not in other things. So we have to keep on ourselves also, we have to keep on learning and learning, read and read and read. Read and read and read words of Karin. They always say that you must read and read and read. So we have to spend time in really learning new things so that we become knowledgeable. We can't incorporate things that we do not know, that we do not understand. We must expose students to advancements to increase their graduate employability. But do we know what are the advancements that we want to expose the student? We have to know all those also. So keep on learning. And 6 ways to build lifelong learning skills. in our learners, your learners, is to encourage learning of ownership. I mentioned this earlier, that learning ownership is very important. The students need to own their learning process. They need to own what they learn. They need to want to learn and to have knowledge. So how do we build this lifelong learning in our students? Because ultimately we are responsible for our own learning. For us as students, they are responsible for their own learning. Turn mistakes into opportunities. The practice of learning from mistakes is one of the best lifelong learning skills anyone can master. Stash a few go-to learning tools and find time to play. Well, not actually play rugby or football, but to play along on about learning new things. Set learning goals. I think these are the take-home message that we need to think about when we want to assist our student, but we must also assist ourselves. Future educator, the attributes of future educator, okay, some of those that they must advocate for the profession, be adaptive educator, not only for their learners, but also for their profession, which means that we're not doing it just for our students, but for ourselves as well. That we have to be adaptive to many things. Forward thinking and effective 21st century educator thinks about their learners' future and is aware of the career opportunities that may arise from them. They should be able to plan in advance how to collaborate. And we should also be tech savvy. Okay? Technology is changing at a rapid pace, and that means that a 21st century educator is right along for the ride. An effective educator knows that learning about the latest gadget can truly transform the learner's education. And we must also be lifelong learners and be adaptive, that we are able to adapt to whatever comes their way. Being an educator in today's world means that you have to adapt to the ever-changing tools and changes that are being implemented in the schools. So we must leverage on technology. However, we should not be the master. We should be the master, not the slave of the technology. We leverage on the technology. There are new technology that come out every day. There come out new things. Some are good for us, some are relevant to us, some are not. So we should be the master of the technology, not the slave of technology. And remember that education is a lifelong journey. Education is a lifelong journey. So it's very important. And there are a lot of things now, when you talk about digital transformation, there are a lot of things that have been produced. I want to share some of you with this. Okay, under the digital transformation, digital learning platform, there are many digital learning platforms. Some probably have used, many of you probably have used some of this. Interactive virtual activity tools, Mentimeter. Mentimeter, Prof. Karim in his talk or his workshop last week, he has brought us through how Mentimeter was being done for his course and how we interact, because this Mentimeter is an interactive presentation software. How we interact with our students, how we make them more alert, how we make them participate with what we are doing. PicTL, I'm sure this is very familiar. Quizzes, different learning methodologies. Physical classroom is the conventional classroom. We need especially for the classes that have practical classes, professional program like veterinary, in the clinics, medical, in the hospital, and so on. Physical classroom is still important, that they need to be there to do the hands-on. This maximizing learning through effectiveness. That means some of the things that you need to do hands-on. Synchronous learning, asynchronous learning. That's what we are doing now in the current situation. When we prepare our lectures, we prepare that for synchronous as well as for asynchronous learning. Learning video editing tools. Okay, there are many tools that can be used to create video. I think this is very important for us to at least learn one or two so that we can produce, because it's not only for online learning, but also we can prepare it for physical classroom learning, where we come up with our own video, a lot of things that need to be done. For example, last week, we had our discussion with Professor Vanessa Vaz from University Hong Kong, Veterinary University, the veterinary faculty. We asked her how clinical cases are being taught to the student during this time. Well, one of the things that she mentioned was that we create our own video. Cases come to the hospital because the hospitals are still in operation. So cases that come to the hospital must be videotaped properly with the learning and education objective in the background. So we have to learn how to do it, and we have to make it available for later on. But still, one of these days, I mean, hopefully soon, the student can still come to the hospital and to the clinic to do the hands-on training themselves. But as I said, we still have to learn. We have to learn how to do video. I've not done my own the video, but probably I'll do soon. My granddaughter is very good in producing videos, and she puts on Instagram. So probably I have to learn with her, from her, how to do it. Digital learning classroom, what we are now on Zoom, Google Classroom, Microsoft Teams. I'm actually attending Google Classroom for teaching. I mean, to learn what Google Classroom is all about. We have one of our veterinary alumni who is very good in this, and he has enrolled me in this Google Classroom. Hopefully that later on I'll be able also to share what Google Classroom is all about. But I'm sure there are many experts in UPM that can teach us how to create the Google Classroom and make it very interactive and interesting. These are some of the other tools that they use, digital learning platform, interactive virtual, different learning methodologies, and others, and as I mentioned just now. So you can go through this and see which one is suitable for you, that you like it, that you want to do it, and probably get Kate to come up with those who are expert in this area to come and to have workshop, online workshop with all of us to learn some of the important aspects, some of the important things. So in the end, what will be your noble contribution? Okay, we have to think about this. This is the one that I took from Dr. Zainal Arifin Ahmad. We talk about this, the noble contribution. We need to reinvent ourselves. Our teaching portfolio, example, our teaching portfolio, are we doing it right? It was a good one before, but can we improve on it and make it better for the future, for the kind of teaching that we are doing now? Understand ourselves. We have to understand ourselves. What is our teaching philosophy? Do we know? Do we have one? Do we have our teaching philosophy? Okay, the university may have one, the others may have one. You have seen the teaching philosophy everywhere, but for yourself, what is your teaching philosophy? Think about it. If you don't have one, I think you should think what is your teaching philosophy, because your teaching philosophy will guide you to what you're going to do. Creativity and innovation for future proof of your teaching. Also very important. As I mentioned earlier, we want to guide our students to be for future proof, to be future proof. But if we ourselves don't know how to do it, we are not creative enough, we are not innovative enough, how can we make our students to be ready for future proof, to be a future proof graduates? Evaluate ourselves, our teaching assessment. How do we evaluate? There are various ways of doing it. How do we do it? And also prepare ourselves for scholarship and professional development. And this is what we are learning today. Okay, all of us are here today. I hope that you learn a few things. Some of those you probably already aware, you already know about all those, but now you want to, and I hope that today that you learn something new from what you have learned before. Karim alias mentioned about education today. He mentioned education today in the 21st century and in the globalized and connected world. It is about adapting to changing world. So education today is actually about adapting to the changing world. How and what we teach has to change as well. And again, I can't emphasize enough that technology is important. So we have to leverage on technology, be the master and not the slave of technology. Before I end, I would like to say, enjoy your academic career. I've enjoyed my academic career. I've been in the university for a long time. I joined the university in 1979 as a tutor, and I'm still here in the university. I'm still enjoying myself being an academic career. I'm learning all the time. I'm still learning. It is a lifelong learning. There are many things that I do not know. So I'm learning now. I'm taking time and learning from other people as well. Learning how to do, like today, I learned how to show a video, sharing the video on the slide had some difficulties, but it didn't go so badly today. So you're learning many things, okay? You have to enjoy. If you enjoy your academic career, you're passionate about it, you'll do good things, you'll be happy to do. It's going to be your lifelong learning. You're going to be working as academic career if you do not change your career. So you have to enjoy whatever that you do. Happy Academia Month and stay safe. Thank you very much. Actually, I love this slide. I bring this everywhere because of the sculpture We Love UPM. And I hope all of us love UPM and do our best and contribute to PM. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Latin. Terima kasih for your sharing just now. I think it was a very comprehensive presentation from Latin Aini. And if I were to give a summary, probably I need another half an hour to give a summary because it's too comprehensive. But I just would like to pinpoint one. There are many important key points highlighted by Latin Aini in the presentation. But I just would like to highlight one only. That is a lifelong learning. Well, we have been venturing into lifelong learning since I think way back in 2006 when we started to have outcome-based education in Malaysia, whereby lifelong learning becomes one of the domain. But I guess now with the COVID situation and the advancement in terms of the new generation taking place or taking education, I think lifelong learning now becomes more and more important. It's not only for students, but moreover for us as educators. Just one example, like we used to use the word tech savvy before, and those who are tech savvy, we consider them as advanced in technology as compared to average person. But nowadays, probably tech savvy may not be a good representation of a person with advanced knowledge anymore, and probably now we go for tech literacy as more appropriate. Literacy means ability to read and write, and I guess now everybody has to be tech literate, yeah, all of us, so that we'll be able to keep up with the current teaching and learning in not only in higher education sector, I guess, but nowadays even online learning have been conducted at the primary school. Even my youngest daughter, 3 years old, so with PKPB now, she got all homeworks need to do and need to send videos to her teacher. So I guess now it goes all along all generation. Thank you very much again, Latin. And maybe I would like to use this opportunity to accept a few questions. Okay, so the first one, I take that from chat here. From Prof. Aliani, can somebody ask this question? Her mic is broken. All right. We were the future of the past, meaning that we are the products of the education system in the past. I believe that the learning experience that we have gone through had successfully prepared us with the uncertainties now. What would be the difference? in the lifelong learning domain that we need to cater for our students now compared to our time? Back then, our teachers also dealt with uncertainties. Are we not ourselves an example of future-proof graduates? Okay, Datin? Maybe.
Yeah, we are now at this juncture. Yes, the way that we were prepared earlier, okay, thinking about what's going to happen now, and as Prof. Alani said, we are now, are we not the future-proof graduate as well? But we know that things are changing. Before there were not many of these tools. The new technologies, the new technologies that we have now were not there before, and we were not using those technologies before. So that's why I said we were prepared before that we're able to adapt the changes that be foreseen in the few years ahead of us. Yeah, I agree with you, future graduates as what we are now. But I'm sure if you ask me about the new technology and all those, I'm not able to do it. I still have to learn. So preparing students for future proof is to be able to make them realize that they should learn, to be able to learn, relearn, and doing things. It was done before, maybe in a different way, but with the changes in the current world, there has to be a new way of doing it. Still, good for future-proof students. I didn't say that we're not the product of future-proof, but future-proof at this time, until this time. If you do not learn, that's why I said that educators also we must learn. If you do not learn further, then we will not be able to keep up with what is happening.
Okay, thank you, Datin. So I would like to open, if there's any question, maybe you can introduce yourself and ask your question.
Hello.
I think they all understand you.
Hello.
Okay, all right, yeah. Okay, Dr. Muhammad Nur Mat Yazid.
Yeah, I'm Muhammad
Okay.
Yazid from University Malaysia, Sabah, Kota Kinabalu.
Yeah, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, very interesting discussion, Datin.
Yeah, thank you.
I would like to raise you mentioned knowledge, skill, attitude, and values. Yeah, knowledge, I think, knowledge and skill. But now I would like to raise the issues of attitude and values, because as a human, that attitude and values is very, very important. Even you got very good knowledge and good skill, but if your attitude and values is not that human, I think the attitude and values is very, very important in any station. 90, 20, 21st, and 22nd is very, very important. I would like to, yes, your comment is here. For example, now we see the problem of water problem, water problem, because we mentioned about sustainable development, we develop what we, protect our environment. But now in Selangor and many areas with water problem. And to me, the water problem, not because of the knowledge and skill, I think the problem because of the attitude and values. For example, I will with TB. According to our law planning, town planning, and that's river, we cannot erect anything, we cannot do any development 300 yards from the river. But in Malaysia, I think, not we protect our river, but we do something in the river. That the relationship between human and the environment. But when I did my first degree, first master's in England, why did the accommodation, University of East Anglia, Norwich, England, they cannot build the accommodation in the campus because the Yea River, just a very small river, but they cannot develop accommodation because they have to follow the 300 yard from the river. And then the city Norwich Council and the University of England, finally, they have to build a new area in the Wilberforce Road. If you know in Norwich, we know that area. Why? Because they follow the 300 yard from the river. But in Malaysia, I would like to suggest that's like the attitude and values. We develop, there's a factory very close to the river, and then all the chemical they put in the river, and then they face problem. I think in this thing, we have to how to develop the attitude and values for our student. And then in these issues, I think we have to, emphasize what we call it in the first Muslim World Education Conference in Mecca in 1977, that in education, we have to, combine two, what you call it, acquired knowledge and perennial knowledge in our education in 1977, Muslim Education Conference in Mecca. So to me, any, 21st of this, that acquired and perennial must be the focus of our education policy. That's I mean acquired Al-Quran, Hadith, Sunnah, Hijmah, and then acquired like the town planning, physics, engineering, and so on. It is to combine with this. Just to read the issue and the comment from the Datin. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. I agree totally with you. I can't emphasize enough that attitudes and values are very important. I think that's why in one of the slides mentioned that the global values that is written there, the global values is the global things that we should consider about education is values and attitude. Okay, what are our values and attitude? We have to understand the value of things and attitude of doing things. As you said, I'm sure people know about that. If you throw things in the river, that will contaminate the river. But why do they still do it? I think they didn't have enough values or enough, the attitude is not right. So those are the things that we try to put into our students to appreciate the values and to look into their attitudes. It's not easy. It's not something easy. That like we said, values of learning things. Some students, they are not, they don't take it as values. They take it, okay, it doesn't matter, you can talk, I will listen. They have different attitude, they have different things. And each student is different from one another. The values and attitudes actually should start from home. To me, it should start from home, start from young. It's not when you get at the university, if you get students that do not bother about values at all, it's not easy, it's not something easy to change. Some can be done, but not all. Okay. So I think as parents, as educators, we all should instill into our children about values and the right attitude. That's all I can comment on that.
Okay, thank you, Datin. So I'll take another one from chat. Well, the nickname is Nurul Hawa, maybe Dr. Nurul Hawa. Online learning can be a lonely journey to most students. How can educators serve as a personal coach or motivator for students to support students? For students to support students in online learning. So how can we be a personal coach and motivator, Datin, in your opinion, for us to ensure that the online learning is going to be effective?
Yeah, as I mentioned in my talk just now, so different students are different, different ways are different, and every one of them is learning in the remote area in isolation. I mean, remote area means in their own space at home. They are in isolation, they're not with friends. That's why a physical classroom is still important. That's where students interact with each other. Okay, if you're not motivated, you see the others are doing it. Your friends can help you. Some others are doing it. But in the current situation, we just have to find ways and means of how to motivate our students. If you know your students well, it is easy for students where we have a small classroom, a small group. But if you have 100 of students in a class, I think it's not easy to know the student very well. But if you know the student very well, or if you know the student well, during the talk or during the lectures that you give, you must interact with every one of the students. Maybe not in one lecture, but maybe in different lecture. Just take a note that who are the students that you have already spoken to before online, or if you're if you know the student well enough in terms of their condition and other things, you can make personal call to talk to the students. It's like doing a personal teaching. one-to-one teaching, but still it's not something easy that can be done. But if you know the student, I think most important is for you to get to know the student and to understand the student very well. In fact, I wanted to put one slide on the comment by the teacher in a school in the UK about the student, the report is a slide report card. But the way it is written is very comprehensive, and it shows that the teacher knows the student very well. He can comment the student very well, and he can also, from the report, that he knows the student very well. He's able, I think it was a she, knows the student very well, and was able to advise the parents of what needs to be done. And if you look at our teachers now, the report card, I don't think it's that comprehensive. No, I don't. My children are all big and now, but I remember doing this when they're small. So reading the report card, it's just only a few lines. So we are not really sure whether they know the students or not. So on our part as a lecturer, the best that we can help the student if you know them well, if you know what they've been doing before, if you didn't really understand their background, the way of doing things. If you know that, I think you should be able to at least able to assist them in certain ways. Yeah? But we have to know the student, because each student is different from one another. Getting to know the student is very important to me.
Okay, thank you, Ratin. So maybe there's any question from the audience. One last question. So, okay, looks like we don't have any more questions, Ratin. So thank you very much again for sharing your thoughts and for conducting this session. With that, I really hope that all of us will learn one or two things from the presentation just now. And if there are things that we can actually try to do and incorporate in our teaching and learning, as well as our philosophy of teaching and learning, that would really be meaningful to the students. Eventually, what is important? Well, we can say many things about what we want to do, but eventually, what's important is what kind of graduates that we are going to produce. So we're talking about future-proof graduates and etc. And these people are going to be the next generation that are going to lead the country, and they'll be the people that are going to ensure that the next generation will be the ones who are going to uphold the country, as well as the teaching and learning in the well, globally. Yeah. So with that, again, thank you very much to Datin Aini, to CADe for organizing this, and to all participants. I would like to end this with Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and have a nice day, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for attending, and as Prof. Iqbal said, I hope that you learned something from attending the talk today. If there's anything, you can contact me or CADe. We can explain things further. So thank you again for your presence.
So we shall end the session now, and the organizer going to close the session in a few while. So thank you again.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan salam sejahtera. Warga pendidik merupakan tunggak utama yang memikul tanggungjawab dan amanah dalam melahirkan graduan yang holistik dan berdaya saing di zaman penuh mencabar ini. Bagi mengenang jasa dan mengiktiraf sumbangan warga pendidik, tanggal 5 Oktober telah diumumkan sebagai Hari Akademia di peringkat nasional. Bersempena Hari Akademia, Universiti Putra Malaysia menganjurkan program Bulan Pendidik pada bulan Oktober. Saya dengan rasa berbesar hati ingin mengucapkan selamat menyambut Hari Akademia dan Bulan Pendidik tahun 2020 kepada seluruh warga pendidik Universiti Putra Malaysia. Sekian, terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Saya ingin mengucapkan selamat Hari Akademia kepada seluruh warga pendidik di Universiti Putra Malaysia. Kita teruskan usaha kita selama ini untuk mendidik anak bangsa kita menjadi orang yang berguna di masa akan datang.
Selamat menyambut Hari Akademia.
Selamat menyambut Hari Akademia.
Selamat menyambut Hari Akademia.
Saya mengucapkan selamat Hari Akademia kepada semua pegawai akademik Universiti Putra Malaysia.
I would like to wish Happy Academia Day to all academic staff of Universiti Putra Malaysia.
Aku dekam meri selamat Hari Pengajar ngagai semua bala pengajar Universiti Putra Malaysia.
Universiti Putra Malaysia verikum very good tandirikum aning pistau sabergelikum. Selamat
Hari. Aku juga selamat onu Akademia nudu semua orang pibaas Universiti Putra Malaysia.
Selamat